Professor Pogorel, teacher of Economy and Management in Telecom Paris, an engineering school. We hosted him in many different occasions, also in Mixer. Thank you, Professor. Here's the stage. Does it work? Hello everybody. I'm very happy for being here once again because we met last year. Thank you to the Alessandro Salotto president. My presence here today is a continuity of some years of commuter job, of discussions. This is the idea of my presentation today. I'd like to introduce the second session, and in this introduction I thought it would be interesting to focus on the future of the telco nets, in particularly the wireless nets, because we are now, as the technological research, in a period of transaction between 5G and the future aspects of wireless nets. I'd like to give a quick overview of what we might expect in the next few years, and I'll introduce maybe the problems of the different relators we'll listen today. So the aspects I'd like to focus on are here listed. I'd like to underline especially not only about the technology itself, but on the problems, the economical and industrial problems that lay below this technological evolution. The first one I'd like to observe is the one toward the rise of the numbers of private nets. This is an area, for privates we mean companies, airports, ports, cities. This is a well-debated area, not only on the technology side. We think about bringing in these places some technologies, the most efficient ones, and allow to the industries to manage as efficiently as possible their own nets. This, I'd say, is an approach, is a concept that has some industrial following. There were many discussions on the role of the operators of the telco industry that have nets in national and international side, and the way of participation of industries and local companies. So the idea, my analysis, is that this represents a possible rebalancing of the relationship of the market between the companies and the industry itself, and also those who offer net services or this type of nets, so the big vendors of telco, and somehow new in our field. The system providers like ABB, we must say there was a huge debate regarding the economical politics of this regulation, because this idea is to attribute to some companies some frequencies that somehow, in a different way from the frequencies given to the telco companies, especially, it's way cheaper. There were some protests, I must say, from the telco industry in this attribution of frequencies that could be considered out of market. This is interesting. We are now in a phase of takeoff of this concept. We have a certain number of local science, especially in Germany. But now is the time for trials and experiments. But also in the US, it seems there is this type of approach, this type of development that will be important, will be absolutely necessary to notify the benefit for the industry, for those who are involved in this type of topic. The second idea I'd like to show you is the fixed wireless. You know it already, been knowing for 20 years. But in the recent times, it had a development was truly important. The fixed wireless. There was a sort of a competition between the promoters of wireless and the fibers. Many consider fixed wireless as a technology that was inferior and wanted to see fiber 100%. Now we have an image that is a little bit more moderate, I'd say. We understand the difference between the two technologies. And here the industrial implication is truly clear. Who needs to operate this technology? We had different occasions according to the countries, not only in Europe, but also throughout the world. The fixed wireless technology has been more and more integrated in the general nets in the telco world, but there is also the possibility of offer that is different for the wireless. And there is also a commercial implication, because when telco companies offer the fixed wireless, they integrate it in their offer to the private, especially, and they put it in a subscription. While some fixed wireless companies have a more innovative way to offer the access fixed wireless as a complement, especially in those geographical area of the steady line, and they introduce a competition that is interesting, especially with the telco, the classic telco operators. Third evolution, very important. We saw it in those critical conditions in Ukraine, the role of the satellite defending Ukraine against the Russian invasion. We can see now the development of these satellites that constitute low orbit satellites, and these technologies also have been around for years, but now the technology is much better, and we find with the satellite some technical definitions that are way of higher quality and with an amount of bits that become acceptable. Clearly, the interest here, the main interest of the satellite is a coverage almost universal. So these satellites offer a complement that is interesting to the wireless Earth nets. Then the integrated nets, these nets put together, I'd say, everything that I've been talking about so far, all these technologies, and this is an evolution that seems to have started already. So tomorrow's wireless nets and overall future nets will integrate to the fiber that is fundamental also in the wireless, but also all those types of wireless communication, satellite or earth or fixed. This is a general draw. So these nets will become interesting in the management side, but those are nets that have a wide range kind of ambition, and they offer a service, very high quality service, and a very wide, broad extension. Fifth element, the spectrum cognitive ratio. So the sharing of the spectrum. This is the answer to the limitation of the radio spectrum. As you know, this is a limited resource. In some countries, in Japan, in Europe, we have the limit in the use of the spectrum. It's been more and more difficult to access the radio spectrum to raise the amount of services offered. So especially in the US, it's very common, the idea that the spectrum sharing will be a necessity in the next years. To be precise, the sharing of the spectrum already exists. It exists in the 3G, in the 4G, in 5G. But in here, we talk about sharing technologies and different services. In the US, they have a system that works already, the CBRS, that is fairly peculiar because it's destined to co-live with military radar, with civil purposes. This doesn't seem necessary in Europe. But the idea of sharing the spectrum, geographical or throughout the time, is important to fight this problem, this limitation to the access. So, considering the industrial implication, is sharing the spectrum might allow to overcome the block to the access to the frequencies, get new services, get new people, and promote competitive innovations. Almost finished. Now we are managing the communication nets. We are in an area where we expect a lot from the progress, from the AI. That concept seems a little bit not clear. So I'd like, at this point, say that we move toward a management to the radio spectrum that is back to base, with algorithms that are more and more sophisticated. It's been many years we've worked on the data treatment, data centers and clouds constitute technologies that are universal. So the management of the nets in the future will be obviously cloud-based, but also edged, and will have the necessity to manage, to calculate way faster, way with a more powerful, and we'll have a management that is going to be more efficient of the nets. The communication nets, the access to the internet. By the way, we are in an engineer industry, but the surveys that was offered in this industry throughout the last years, the offer was huge. In the future, this industry will still be a very important element of the efficiency, not only of telco, but also of the economy of the country and Europe. What are the industrial implications? And are there critical problems with the security, deciding in the social issue and in the military issue? These considerations became more and more clear in the last few months, and they present a dimension that is truly important, that is in the management of the net. We never stopped considering the consequences of the evolutions of the situation, especially in the international side. And so let me go back to a topic that was the one from the previous session. Shall we say that the 5G was a little bit disappointing in the energy consumption, because more and more data, more and more videos means consuming more and more energy. This topic was then faced in the perspective of the 6G. 6G is not now defined, but the goals in regarding the energy consumption are evident and are now more ambitious compared to what we saw before. To conclude, what could be our vision for the evolution of the wireless nets in the next 10 years? I'd say these are evaluations that are obviously personal. In the next 2 years, we need to control the evolution regarding the private nets, because those could introduce some revolution, not only in the industry, but also for the telco, to create a telco a little bit more broken, a little bit more fragmented. Those who can gain, but also could have some problems. We need to survey the development of the fixed wireless in 24-26. I believe it will be the moment of the integration of the telco nets, not only for services on Earth, but also through the satellites, and will go, finally, I'd say, would have the universal coverage of those territories. There was one of those goals that was not yet reached throughout all the European countries. And after the 26, with the 6G, the use more and more diffused of the database management will have a bigger agility, flexibility for the telco nets. This is the perspective that I give you, and thank you so much for being here. I'd like to remind everybody, we have also the book of the coding of new digital strategic economy, because you can find a lot of indication in here. Professor, thank you so much for being here this morning. Enjoy your day. This was our topic last year. If you are interested on the digitally autonomy, if you want this book, last year I said it's coming out. Now after a year we have it. If you are interested, please give us your card. I'll send you the book or the PDF offered by the European Parliament. So let's use it. Yes. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. Now our next three guests: Marco Leone, CEO of Fiber Telecom. Hello, welcome. Stefano Mazzitelli, Director of Market Business Direction of Open Fiber. Vincenzo Scarlato, here, Marketing Director of Irideos. Hello, welcome for being here. Thank you for being here. There are some themes we'd like to face with you in the next second part before lunch break. Still have like half an hour to dedicate to this last panel. So, Scarlato is in exactly here in the middle. I decided with Irideos to face an important topic that is about the services we've been talking about so much, so mix. Irideos is also in this field, this interconnection field. What is the importance of everything you've done recently? Hello everybody, good morning. I'll try to be quick. Allow me to say, small recap of what we saw so far. We talked about energy, infrastructures, the importance of infrastructures, and also those infrastructure for the data, for the wireless data. All those data with the access nets keep increasing. We have more and more. We get them in the houses, in the offices, the transport lines have more and more ability to transport data. We saw it before. We were talking of the big data center. The colleague of Stack was talking about the increment we expect in the next future here in Italy to catch up with the gap with the other European nations. So this data traveling, packing in the data center. But in order to work properly, this data need to be exchanged. Here, today, we are with the MIX, because MIX is one of those exchange centers. If we look at the European panorama, those centers, European and non-European, are always in big cities: Amsterdam, Paris, Frankfurt, London. These huge powers, not only for the culture, but the culture also is close to the exchange of data. And these powers are just represented in Italy, in Milan, with the MIX. This is 10 times what all the other exchange do around Italy. Why this? Because everything comes here in two engines of this city. One, I said before, is the MIX, and the other one is the Avalon campus of Irideos in Via Caldera. In the MIX, as you all know, we have 10 giga, 100 giga. In the campus, we have the fiber exchange from one dot to the others throughout all the operators, throughout the clouds, Mondial operated the streaming connectors. They go through thousands of cross connection with the fiber. So the exchange of data, the exchange of information is the one that in the end makes everything work. But also for this we need infrastructures. And this is what we announced 2 weeks ago with our new Avalon 3. It's a new center of interconnection where all the operators, all the institutions can exchange data safely and in a green way. It is true that we are facing an energetic crisis. We might think, oh, coal is so good, but we do believe that the future is and will be green. And so we built our new data center. This idea of interconnection, of exchange, is something that brings us into talking about collaboration. Do you believe that we do need more exchange point in this sector? Yes, we do. And we need to expand these points. Obviously, the excess exchange in a specific point doesn't make it convenient anymore. We need to bring all the nets in one point. If we have too many points, we need to bring the nets. Obviously, we don't have any longer the interconnection point. So there is a limit to a number of interconnection we can face. Historically, as Italy, we come from a country that was well divided in little towns and dialects. We do tend to go over there. The market, though, goes in a different ways. In other countries, we have 1 or 2 points of interconnection, not the US, this is a different topic, but yes, we do need interconnection points, but I do believe we need incrementing the capacity, the power of those interpoints. Stefano Mazzitelli, this is an important moment for telcos in Italy. We've had many similar moments. Up until yesterday, I would say, oh, tomorrow something will happen. Probably tomorrow nothing will happen. I'm talking about the offer we should have had. This is a way to thank you for being here. But let me ask you something, just to trick you. Regarding, as we are talking about infrastructures, Scarlato spoke about an important infrastructure between those in the country. You represent a piece of infrastructure that is really important. Regarding the evolution and the work that has been done lately, there was a topic, a very bright one, regarding delays, people not maintaining the word they gave. So Open Fiber has been accused about that. So how do you answer to this, and what is the point? I've been in Open Fiber for 2.5 months. So this might happen. No, this doesn't give me the possibility to know the company so well, but it allows me to see it from a detached point of view. I might be detached from the history, the evolution of Open Fiber, where we did have some problems. Let's say a very bright goal we had on that got us a little bit of step backs with a massive project of acceleration of a startup that then slowed us a little bit back. I'll give you some data, because nowadays Open Fiber, we talk about an entity that has already cabled, or with little differences, 15 million of houses, did 80% of the coverage, especially on the black areas, those areas that were extremely competitive, and has 225 cities with a goal of 270. These cities are completely closed in the deployment of the net. We have the white areas, the one where the market is got 3 slots. We had a little delay, but we talk about 3,200,000,000 houses connected, 80,000 million of kilometers. In the cities, Open Fiber has a regime. In a month, it has 2,100 kilometers of digging in the white areas. We're talking about digging in cities. These numbers I'm giving you, the ones in a regime, will change a lot of the country. We do have some delays. We know that there are some companies that have some difficulties. If you want, we can talk about that and how to restructure the company. But we might admit that today we are moving very, very fast. And this is a society that was born in 2017 from a white paper. We had an office in Via Po with 3 people. So this is a 5 years plan development. I don't believe we have lots of society, not only in Italy, but in Europe, that can talk about this type of development. A development that is a development that will be done by 2027, let's say 1 year, 2 years. But it's still something that is changing the overview of the country. So today I see a structure that has 1,200 people, and in a month, in the white areas, digs 210, 215 kilometers of digging. That is a data that is like absolutely unique in the market. So you do reject this accusation. I do. Then I also realize that there are some original plans. Some of them were not maintained. There were some shareholders that check it. We have 430 million of revenue this year, by the way. We're not talking about like a failure, please. We are keep on like developing. This is a company that is working and is important, but with all the late start, with all the difficulties, I like to have a better visualization of open fiber and observes the past, but observe also the future. Marco Leone, Fiber Telecom. An overview on the market, because we are talking about infrastructures. You are an important player. In the first panel, especially, we talked about the market, what we expect in the next few months. Let's stick to the months, because otherwise we have the next mix meeting. What is the perspective you see? First of all, hello. I'd say I'd go back to Professor Pogorel presentation, especially to the Proximon. We have an overview up until 2030. I wouldn't talk so far because it's complex, but I do agree in many different aspects. Yesterday we were talking about these infrastructures. We were talking about the earth one, but we have different type of structures nowadays. The FWA, the space community, the European community allowed the realization of the Iris that will get more satellites on orbit. And this is what the professors was talking about, 24-26. The goal of an operator should be get to this structural operator, get solutions that get resilience, diversification, the protection of the data. We have different themes that today were observed because they are fundamental and important. We need a security that need to be a data that needs to be scheduled and maintained safely. An operator can allow an aggregation following this type of canon, this type of rules. On the cloud and on the adoption of the cloud, Red Scala gave us a perspective that is, for many of you, I believe, very well known, a strong evolution through the international players toward Italy. You, that in this field, connect clients to infrastructures. What are you observing? Leone first. The theme is complex and delicate. We know the difficulties that the companies have with these big companies abroad. The government has, beside the unique net, and in these days we are waiting for some answers, but there is also an overview of the panel in the afternoon. Inside these actions, trying to develop the cloud, there are still some difficulties in balancing and the big investments, the big monopoly of bigger companies with the small industries in Italy. We are trying to contribute and trying to get together different companies. It is still a topic that needs the support of the government because we can't face this type of huge topic alone. Scarlato? Well, the cloud, I believe, is the biggest driver of our economy because it starts with the access. I know you journalists like to stick, but what kind of you like to talk about delays, but these companies change the Italian panorama of communication. I worked for years in this field. Before 2017, we talked about FTTC or FTTH. No, the vector is the future. We thought about that, but this is close. No, let me say, that's what you say is right. But the topic is there are people that still manage to accuse others, but beside the delays, this is something we are accustomed to. We know that the European Union gave us some goals up to 2030, so even if we have a small delay, that's okay. But the topic is if, and it's not just a problem of open fiber, if we have a delay, we might lose the contributes of PNR. But I'd like to talk about the cloud. I talk about this, about the access, because the migration, the digitalization toward the cloud means access net, allowing the consumers having this fiber, data centers, transport, and, as we said before, the interconnection. All the regions of the big American clouds are opening or almost opened at the moment. This is the main point of the digital economy for what we have. And by the way, because we're talking about this and mix, let me say it because often we talk about big international players. As the main autonomy, we also have some cloud providers in Italy. I think Naquadra is one of them, I believe, and is one of the sponsors, that are important for the system and are important for the system that makes IEP and so on and so forth. I believe this is an important team. Mazzitelli. Regarding the cloud, interconnection, transport, as you are in the business area, let me give you an observation that is often, I work in the Sole 24 Ore Radio 24, often the industry, especially in some areas, typically in the manufacture, always complained and has complained that some things were forgotten because some areas that are not black nor white, we call them gray, but in gray we have different shades. Yeah, we still have a problem, don't we? Yes, beside the fact that strict industrial is quite weird in this country. That's a topic where we are delay. We identify almost 40 districts, and we do have a delay. We do need to accelerate there, also in partnership with others. We had project for 40 industrial districts, but yes, we do have a delay. It's an end-to-end, and if you are cabling something and you miss the last 15 meters, obviously that's a problem. But that's an acceleration we need to give. And not only there, Open Fiber accredited on a deployment FTTH focus on compensation of the consumer. And I believe this was then somehow moved away in a weird way, because we had some businesses and we missed them. Open Fiber has to get an improvement from a cabling to something more residential. The flooring, first of all, the backbone. We have a very thin backbone at the moment because it's something that answers to some experiences. We are changing it. Also, a little bit more in depth. For whatever we are talking at the moment, 5G, here we have the Federico Proto, one of the masters of this. It's an element. It's something that, if well done, can really help a lot. So we need to develop, we need to go in different ways. We are a little bit late. We have very big competitors, so we need to move fast. But we are trying to do more. Just a few more minutes. Can you give us a perspective on the next few months regarding the... Because I don't believe anything will happen tomorrow. Can we play on the perspectives? I believe that there is something important here, more for others rather than Open Fiber. To open access, the Italian system could not stand. Labrola said of a highway that connects Bari, there is just one. If we do two, they both fail. So I believe that the path, beside what we read on the journals, on the newspapers, this is it. Regarding the models, let's see. Models can be different. There is absolutely a discontinuity, but I do believe our shareholders are very committed. Everything is positive in the future, starting from the fact that nowadays Open Fiber is an active industry and is a solid industry. Let's forget about the past and let's move ahead. Thank you so much. Perfect.